Dubois is coming into his own, man. That's what that is. He's only like 27. That guy's f***ing scary. He's dangerous. Going into that fight, it seems like he believed that he was just going to dominate him.
Look, it's a tough ask, of course. You know, the thing with Usyk is he doesn't depend on his power to knock you out. He depends on his skill.
Joe Rogan and Anthony Joshua both watched in disbelief as Daniel Dubois was knocked out by the undefeated Oleksandr Usyk. On his live Fight Companion stream, Rogan shot forward in his chair and muttered, "Dubois never solved those angles, Usyk just took him apart." The surprise and slight frustration in Rogan's voice made it clear he'd expected Dubois to push Usyk far harder.
It seems like he believed that he was just going to dominate him.
Yeah, and he just got ruthlessly exposed. The power of Dubois I remember I bought into it.
Across the Atlantic, Joshua quietly posted a nod of respect, but it was Rogan's detailed, emotional breakdown that shaped the post-fight narrative. Anthony Joshua knows what it feels like to face Oleksandr Usyk, and when he saw Daniel Dubois dropped cold, he didn't gloat, he nodded. AJ posted a short salute, then said what many fighters were thinking. Usyk stays calm, finds the gap, ends the night. It wasn't hype, it was recognition. Joshua's reaction framed Dubois' loss as more than a bad punch. It was a test of mindset, preparation, and what it really takes to solve Usyk.
Because he's always moving. There's no rest with him.
No rest.
There's
no
like
time
constant,
yeah.
there's constant twitching.
Under fire the whole time.
you're constantly thinking, when is this coming? There's no silent agreements. There's no relaxation. There's no, there's no rounds off.
Yeah.
Everything is he's putting it on you and moving constantly.
Rogan broke down the mechanics. Joshua underlined the lesson. Joe Rogan has witnessed thousands of knockouts, from UFC head kick chaos to bare knuckle brawls in forgotten arenas. But Dubois collapsing under Usyk's disguised left made him lean so far forward that his nose nearly kissed the camera. On his Fight Companion stream, Rogan replayed the finish 6 separate times, each rewind slowing the decisive sequence by a fraction until the mechanics were undeniable. Usyk jabbed low, shifted 3 inches to his right, dragged Dubois' guard down with the motion, then uncorked a southpaw hook that snapped across the Briton's jaw like a whip crack. "That's a southpaw boomerang," Rogan growled. Dubois is loading the big right, waiting for a phone booth brawl, and Usyk's already stepped into a different zip code. The UFC commentator turned podcaster broke the moment into layers: feet, hips, shoulder feint, glove placement. He called Dubois technically raw for this level, arguing the Briton still boxes like a prodigy who always relied on natural dynamite rather than refined ring arithmetic.
Exposed. The power of Dubois I remember I bought into it. I was like, okay, so I'll watch it, but this is going to be a stepping stone match. It wasn't a stepping stone.
Aggression too, man. He was so aggressive.
The critique deepened the next day on the Joe Rogan Experience, where Rogan told guests Israel Adesanya and Alexander Volkanovski that Dubois needs a psychological reinstall more than a new trainer.
Just have the numbers that Usyk and Dubois are getting. How much? 132. Oh, wait, 32 and 71. Yeah, look at the numbers.
He praised Usyk's patience. "He's the southpaw Anderson Silva of boxing, bro. Same trick, show you one target, strike the other." Rogan's fascination didn't end with technique. Mid-episode, he pulled up leaked purse figures, $132 million to Usyk, $71 million to Dubois, and admitted the numbers made him straight-up dizzy. His takeaway was that money masks structural weaknesses. If you collect 9-figure checks before you fix footwork, you risk permanent ceilings. The observation segued into a scathing riff on the heavyweight talent pool, claiming too many prospects assume muscle equals mastery until a scientist like Usyk rearranges their math. As Rogan rapped, he asked one haunting question: does Dubois learn or does he fold? And with a knowing smirk, he promised his viewers they'd want to stay tuned, because heavyweight history suggests only one of those roads ends in belts.
He was unbelievable. He was on form today. He boxed great. He did the right things. He was counter-punching, and he was moving well, and he wasn't getting caught. And he started off with a jab, so what can you say?
Anthony Joshua has tasted Usyk's brilliance twice, leaving him equal parts admirer and tactician. Minutes after Dubois hit the deck in Wembley, Joshua posted a muted photo of Usyk draped in a Ukrainian flag, captioned with 4 words: legacy, identity, focus, family. Fans saw humility, rivals saw chess. Privately, per a leaked conversation reported by British tabloids, Joshua turned to promoter Eddie Hearn and muttered, "We should have iced Dubois in 24. Now the ladder's taller." On a subsequent Sky Sports interview, AJ unpacked the fight with a measured nod. Power fades, positioning lasts. Usyk's balanced on his toes, inside and outside at the same moment. Dubois looked for a door that wasn't there. He emphasized mindset more than mechanics, citing Usyk's calm as the heavyweight equivalent of Zen archery. Joshua, who underwent elbow surgery earlier this year, also confessed the outcome sharpened his own hunger. "I've rebuilt before. I'll rebuild again." But you need fresh questions, not recycled opponents. Joshua's vantage isn't just about admiration, it's strategic positioning. With Usyk now holding every major belt, AJ's road to redemption intersects with Fury. It's a labyrinth where every wrong step leads to gatekeeper purgatory. Joshua's camp floated the idea of a late-year tune-up against rising puncher Jared Anderson or Olympic prodigy Moses Itama, both looming threats that could either validate Joshua's renaissance or crash it spectacularly. Yet in AJ's eyes, the Dubois loss isn't merely Dubois heartbreak. It's a cautionary tale for any heavyweight who mistakes raw power for ring IQ. As he told DAZN in a backstage clip, "Championship boxing is homework, not just highlight reels. The real homework now, plotting a path through a minefield shaped by Usyk's latest masterpiece." Wembley Stadium, July 19, 2025, 90,000 fans singing, flags rippling, camera shutters rapid firing across the London sky. 2 years earlier, Usyk had survived a low-blow scandal in Wroclaw against the same opponent. On this night, he entered the ring wearing the quiet grin of a man who already knew the sequel's script. Round 1 found Dubois testing range with a piston jab, trying to dictate center ring geography. Usyk, hands loose, eyes half-lidded, sketched circular patterns under the bulbs, always half a step outside Dubois' right hand. By round 2, the Ukrainian fainted downstairs, provoking Dubois into slashing hooks that carved nothing but humid air. The crowd felt an invisible vice tighten. Round 3 produced a flash of hope. Dubois grazed Usyk's ribs and roared forward, but the southpaw snapped back a counter straight left mid-stride that squared Dubois' feet and forced him to clinch. Rogan, streaming, hollered, "That's geometry, not luck." Round 4 was all footwork theater. Usyk pivoted left, shoulder rolled a looping right, then tapped a liver probe that made Dubois twitch. Judges scored every stanza for Usyk. Cards later revealed a 40-36 sweep. Then round 5 detonated. Usyk faked a body jab. Dubois half-dropped his guard, anticipating relief at the ribs. Instead, the Ukrainian ascended through the opening with a left hand so short it was almost academic, yet the force sent sweat spraying in a halo. Dubois' legs steadied, then betrayed him, folding at the knees. A collective gasp, then the referee counted to 10. Silence. Roar. History. Usyk raised his fists to a sky newly drenched in pyro glare, becoming a 3-time undisputed champion across 2 weight divisions, something unseen since the days of Ali. Ringside scribes whispered that the punch also shattered another record.
Just, you're talking about one of the great generation. I watched the first 2 rounds. Dubois looked really dangerous. Came out, backed him up, and then Usyk just decided, I can't allow him to back me up, so I'm going to go on the front foot.
9th consecutive victory over British heavyweights. As medical staff escorted a shell-shocked Dubois back to his corner, social media exploded. But the hashtag that trended wasn't jubilation. It resurrected a controversy most thought buried. In August 2023, Dubois had floored Usyk with a body shot many believed strayed low. The referee ruled it illegal, and outrage fluttered across the boxing ether. 2 years later, people still argued whether Dubois had been robbed that night. With Usyk's knockout in the rematch, Twitter, now X, split between awe and suspicion. Memes flooded timelines. A yellow tape outline of a belt line on Usyk's trunks, a looping gif comparing the 2023 punch to the 2025 feint. Pundits recycled screenshots, drawing ruler straight lines to prove or debunk old claims. Dubois promoter Frank Warren, speaking at the post-fight presser, reignited the grievance.
It was a good fight. He was doing okay. You know, he caught Usyk some good punches and vice versa, but he just lost concentration, got clipped, and never got over it. Against a great fighter, you know, he's a modern day great. Let's say how it is, and in any generation, he'd be a great fighter.
People forget how the first fight shaped public opinion. We'll be reviewing everything. Usyk's manager Klimas fired back. When you get knocked cold, there's no debate, only reality. Governing bodies, wary of fan fatigue, released a terse statement. No formal protest received. Beyond the belt line discourse, a deeper question surfaced. Did the 2023 controversy psychologically warp Dubois? Sports psychologists on talk shows speculated that Dubois entered Wembley gunslinger style, desperate for retribution, ignoring the chessboard for the shootout. One ESPN panelist noted, "Fights are seldom won on the punch you throw, they're lost on the narrative you carry." At the center of this storm stood Joe Rogan, amplifying the conversation to his 20 million plus subscribers.
He's fighting the craftiest heavyweight maybe of all time.
Yeah.
Usyk is so slick. He is,
Yes.
I mean, he's the guy who's trained by the same guy that Lomachenko was trained by.
He argued the past controversy was exactly why Usyk dug so hard into feints to the body, weaponizing Dubois trauma. His phrase, "That's a fighter turning scandal into software," trended overnight. And by dawn, a new cloud hovered. What happens if Dubois team files another protest? Lawyers whispered about arbitration, but insiders shrugged boxing moves on quicker than litigation. Dubois himself offered a simple lament: "I thought I could find him tonight, I couldn't." Fight purses in 2025 have ballooned into stratospheric digits, yet even hardened industry veterans choked on their coffee when the Usyk-Dubois II split leaked. Reportedly, 203 million sat in escrow, with Usyk earning 132 million and Dubois 71 million, a mind-bending jump from their 2023 paydays.
It's not that. It's boxing. It's not ballet. It's not dancing. Daniel, you can.
Joe Rogan turned those figures into podcast fireworks. "That's NFL quarterback money without the concussions," he said, half-jokingly ignoring boxing's own brutal realities. The purse numbers matter for more than tabloid shock. They underpin rematch clauses. Sources close to Matchroom Boxing leaked a conditional trilogy trigger. If pay-per-view buys eclipse 1.5 million, Dubois can demand a rubber match within 12 months at a 40-60 split. Early DAZN analytics pegged buys at 1.27 million by Sunday afternoon and trending upward. Yet the Ukrainians' camp signaled a different horizon. Tyson Fury. Usyk defeated Fury twice in 2024, the first on Saudi sand, the second inside a sweltering Cardiff dome. A trilogy would complete a saga likely to be marketed as the most lucrative heavyweight series in history. If that happens, Dubois could find himself marooned.
Which of these boxers do you think are better than you? Anthony Joshua,
Yeah.
Derek Chisora, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury,
Yeah.
Daniel Dubois, Mike Tyson,
Yeah.
Joe Frazier,
Yeah.
George Foreman.
Yeah.
One British columnist coined the term heavyweight limbo, describing a fighter with marquee potential but no immediate dance partner. Meanwhile, broadcast executives drooled at the prospect of multi-continent stadium economics: London, Kyiv, Abu Dhabi. One network insider told The Times, "These guys are beating inflation better than gold." Fans, of course, wondered who actually pockets the treasure once promoters, managers, trainers, sanctioning fees, and Uncle Sam take their share. The takeaway: boxing isn't just hurt business theater. It's a cauldron of clauses, thresholds, and fine print, and every decimal point directs the next headline. Alexander Usyk's latest triumph cements an eerie statistic. He is now 9-0 against British heavyweights, a spotless run that includes Bellew, Chisora, Joshua ×2, Fury ×2, and Dubois ×2. Commentators on TNT Sports didn't just compare him to Lennox Lewis. They floated Ali's name when discussing the way Usyk decomposes large opponents into solvable physics problems. Yet the landscape around him is anything but static. Picture a solar system with Usyk as the blazing sun. Every other planet is jostling for gravitational relevance. Hopping his orbit doesn't burn them to dust. Anthony Joshua's rehabilitation arc is first in line. The elbow surgery is healed, the ego still bruised, but the blueprint is clear. One emphatic victory, whether over American knockout artist Jared Anderson or British prodigy Moses Itama, could slingshot AJ back into a mega fight that closes his career in fireworks rather than embers. Anderson's promoter Bob Arum is already teasing a Wembley showdown for spring 2026, dangling an undercard stacked with US Olympians to sweeten the UK broadcasters. Itama's camp counters by whispering AJ at the Emirates under floodlights, a move that would sell out an Arsenal stadium faster than any Premier League derby. Further out in that orbit spins Tyson Fury, still nursing a fractured hand but very much the division's carnival barker. His social posts range from calling Usyk a middleweight in winter coats to promising the greatest trilogy since Holyfield Bow once he's medically cleared. The WBC, eyeing sanctioning fee windfalls, has already drafted provisional paperwork for Fury Usyk Roman 3 in Kyiv, a spectacle that blends sporting epic with geopolitical theater.
Last time, obviously, Alexander got the victory, stopped him with the jab, bang in the face, and he thought, there's some out of here. But listen, Dubois on a good bit of run of form, and we know that boxing's on good form. He's had a good win over Jarrell Miller, he's had a good win over Filip Herkovich, and he's had a good win over our own Anthony Joshua.
Behind closed doors, though, Fury's team is studying a different opponent, IBF mandatory Filip Hrgovic. Vacate a belt to chase pay-per-view glory elsewhere. Fury wants the strap and the storyline in one swoop. All of this volatility leaves Daniel Dubois dangling between two realities. At 27, he is biologically unscarred, yet psychologically singed by back-to-back high-profile collapses. ESPN analyst Timothy Bradley put it bluntly, unless Dubois beats a real threat, think Hrgovic or Joyce on short notice, he morphs into the division's cautionary slide. Frank Warren floated a nostalgia-flavored Dubois-Joyce rematch at the O2, but Joyce's handlers prefer a lower-risk Fury undercard slot because a second loss to Dubois would crater Joyce's late career stock. Behind the matchmaking chess is a ferocious media arms race. DAZN wants global exclusivity for Usyk Fury Roman 3, TNT Sports is dangling 8 figures for Joshua's next 2 bouts, and an emergent Netflix sports wing just greenlit a pilot docuseries tentatively titled Kings of Chaos, promising cinematic behind-the-scenes access. Usyk's manager Egiz Klimas calls it cross-platform storytelling, code for turning casual browsers into rabid PPV buyers, a page yanked straight from the UFC's embedded playbook. Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, flush with oil cash and looking to diversify its sports portfolio, has already signaled a willingness to bankroll an entire season of heavyweight events in Riyadh if it guarantees both cultural soft power and streaming rights. And floating over everything is Joe Rogan, an algorithmic kingmaker. A single enthusiastic rant on JRE can spike engagement metrics by double digits. Managers time press releases around his upload schedule. In the modern era, a heavyweight's path isn't carved solely by fists, but by data curves, hashtags, and the velocity of Rogan's sound bites. For now, those curves paint one undeniable truth. The division orbits Usyk, and every competitor is scrambling to calculate the velocity required to escape his gravitational pull. Joe Rogan frames Dubois' downfall as a physics lecture with blood on the blackboard. To him, Usyk is an engineer of angles who rewires the fight in real time, turning larger men into malfunctioning machines. Rogan's jiu-jitsu background bleeds into his analysis. He stresses leverage chains, center-line dominance, and the way Usyk downloads an opponent's patterns before planting microscopic traps. On JRE, he likened the Ukrainian's ringcraft to a chess engine that learned kung fu, arguing that brute force alone is now obsolete at championship level. His warning reverberates across combat sports gyms: upgrade your footwork or accept irrelevance. Young heavyweights who once binge-watched Wilder knockouts now freeze-frame Usyk's pivots in slow motion, counting the milliseconds between feint and strike like coders debugging software. Anthony Joshua hears the same symphony but focuses on the percussion you can't see. In post-fight interviews, he dwells on inner architecture, discipline, routine, spiritual composure. Months of meditation, retreats in Portugal, and consultations with sports psychologists have retooled AJ's mindset. He tells DAZN that Usyk's calm makes the ring shrink for his opponents, asserting that legacy is a ledger of personal growth, not just belts. Joshua has begun citing Stoic philosophers, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, during press junkets, framing boxing as a quest for self-mastery. Where Rogan dissects geometry, AJ examines identity. Both end at the same junction. Skills rust, but self-awareness either evolves or erodes. Their parallel verdicts forge a double-edged prophecy around Dubois. Victory in his next outing ignites the greatest redemption saga since George Foreman's second act. Another defeat demotes him to the toll booth keeper of heavyweight dreams, the man every rising prospect must beat to claim legitimacy. That binary outcome ricochets into training camps worldwide. In Lagos, Mexico City, and Kyiv, teenage amateurs drill southpaw pivots before they ever throw full-power hooks. British gyms famous for bash and brawl sparring now incorporate ballet footwork and VR reaction drills. Promoters sift through amateur tournaments not just for concussive punchers, but for fighters who show composure under faint storms, the very trait Rogan and Joshua celebrate. The philosophical ripple extends beyond ropes. Endorsement agencies re-evaluate campaign storyboards. The new marketable archetype is the cerebral warrior, equal parts tactician and gladiator. Sports science labs partner with AI firms to create sparring simulations that mimic Usyk's timing, selling the software to camps desperate to bridge the skills gap without subjecting their boxers to brain-rattling rounds. Old-school trainers scoff at video game boxing, but the results are hard to deny. Knockout ratios dip, defense metrics climb, and fighters arrive on fight night anatomically fresher. Yet for all their differing vocabularies, Rogan and Joshua converge on a single, ruthless axiom. The heavyweight division is no longer a contest of who hits hardest but who adapts fastest. In their eyes, Usyk is the living proof, Dubois the cautionary tale, and every other contender a headline awaiting a verdict. Whether that verdict is triumph or tragedy depends on how quickly they can rewrite their operating systems, because the sport, like its audience, has developed a bloodlust for reinvention. And so, as the stadium lights fade and the concussion protocols begin, one lingering question remains. Who among the giants will solve the riddle of Usyk's geometry first, if anyone ever can? The next pulse of the division may arrive without warning in a single counter left or a boardroom pen stroke, but its shockwave will be measured not only in knockouts, but in the speed at which every man left standing learns, adapts, and evolves. Did July 19, 2025 mark the twilight of Daniel Dubois' promise, or the first crack in a narrative that will someday thunder back as boxing's grandest redemption arc? Joe Rogan wagers that elite technique forced a permanent reveal. Anthony Joshua suspects a mindset rebirth could still unfold. Meanwhile, Usyk polishes belts, networks polish checks, and the rumor mill churns. Fury Usyk III in Kiev, Joshua Anderson in Vegas, Dubois against Destiny anywhere someone will foot the bill. One certainty remains, heavyweight history just pivoted on a single left hand, and every punch thrown from here carries its aftershock. Keep watching, because the next shockwave might already be loading in silence. Rogan's breakdown and Joshua's take. Did Usyk show levels, or did Dubois leave chances on the table? Drop your scorecard in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next breakdown.